What's going on, party people? Hope everybody is well. Welcome to another episode of the Culture 316 podcast. I'm one of your hosts and producers, Jordan Nahisi.
And I am your co-host, Mo. What is up, people? How are we doing today?
Thank you guys so much for joining us, for tapping in with us for another episode. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Be sure to rate us a 5 stars if you're listening via anywhere podcast can be streamed. Once again, we really appreciate the support that you guys give to us. Somebody hit me up on TikTok a couple days ago saying like, thank you guys and all that for putting out content every week. And we just thank you guys for supporting us. Like, it's the support that we get from y'all that keeps us going, and we really appreciate it. We're really proud of what we're building at Culture. And speaking of building, we have another space this Sunday for AEW Revolution. So meet us over on Twitter around 4:45 Pacific Standard Time. I would say 7:45 Eastern Standard Time. Join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be
Comment
going through.
below what I should drink next time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That
Because I'm gonna be watching with Zaire.
oh,
If you guys love my best friend Zaire that joined the space last time, we will be beside each other, so he'll have to do all my antics and buffoonery.
think
Face to
of
face.
BET Uncut, but about wrestling. That's what this Sunday is going to be, and I absolutely can't wait. It's going to be credit card swiping down booty cheeks, all the profane things. Anyway,
Not booty.
um, remember the
Get
Nelly
wild.
Tiptree video? The Nelly Tiptree video. Anyway, we're gonna be moving on. So first things first, obviously, since we have culminated uh, Black History Month, I wanted to know from your perspective, Mo, and obviously I'll give my take as well. You know, obviously wrestlers of color, in particular Black wrestlers, have come a long way. As it pertains to the representation and the diversity that we see on screen. And I wanted to know, what is the state of Black wrestlers? Uh, you know, what is the state of Black wrestling? What is the state of Black wrestlers? Like, do we have a long way to go? Are you very satisfied of what you've seen? Give it all to me. What's your take?
I'll be honest. It'd be wrong for me to say that there is no progression
Mm,
in the state of like Black wrestlers in wrestling because I mean, growing up, who did I have? I think that I slightly might have just missed the jazz era, and I had to
mm,
rewind back to go see that and see a little bit of Jackie. But I saw like Cristal for an example. Who else did I see from the women like Karma? We had Alicia Fox, but there were people that were never put in like a main title picture. And of course, for like the men, like I was a big fan of people like Shelton Benjamin, but I did kind of also like the stereotypes like Crime Time and stuff like that. Um, and I felt like back then they were either meant to just be mid cards or sideshow acts or just be stereotypical in order to
mm,
be like, you know, TV time worthy. Whereas with now, I like the fact that Black wrestlers could just be like regular people, that they don't have to fall into the stereotypes to be important and like the fans like them. Like, I know this particular wrestler is a little wishy washy for some people, but I actually really love Apollo Crews. And
mm,
people shit on him for being boring or whatnot and not really have much of a personality. But I like what they were doing with him in NXT over there. That they put him in a lot of title opportunity pictures, which is lovely. When it comes to people like, you know, Sasha, Naomi, and Bianca, I like the fact that they don't remind me of caricatures of Black women, but they are just more or less bringing like their personality or whatever was a big piece of them growing up to the forefront of the screen. And that's what's representing them because that's something where I
mm,
feel as though if I'm a little girl watching back at home, you know, that's going to resonate with me. You know, that's going to make me feel some type of way that's going to make me feel empowered, you know. So I love the representation. I like the fact that when it comes to Black female wrestlers, they're not only pushed in TV and being important. I mean, we have Jade Cargill and fucking Bianca Belair currently as champions, taking over the game, and Mercedes right now in New Japan. Like, I would never have thought we would seen like a world before where in all three major promotions of wrestling, Black female wrestlers are taking over the game. Like,
mm-hmm.
no one's clearing them. Absolutely nobody's clearing them, and they're their own individuals. They didn't again have to be caricatures. So I love that for them. As far as the men go, I feel like there's been an improvement. Do I think there could be more black male wrestlers? Yeah, they have done some improvement with people like Bobby Lashley. Even though he's a bit of a borderline coon to me, if you will. But we're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about that. Um, I feel like people like Hobbs over in AEW gets taken pretty seriously over there. People take him
Mm-hmm.
to be like real. We had that whole run with motherfucking Swerve and Keith Lee. We had the
Mm-hmm.
Acclaim going on. So there's a lot of black representation. But I still do think we could do just a little better sometimes, just because um, I feel like they book us sometimes just to shut us up when they could be giving them better storylines to work with. That has to be my
Mm-hmm.
biggest ick as far as what they do with black wrestlers. It just kind of comes off like they have an agenda sometimes, so let's just put this person in the forefront to shut the crowd up, which it works sometimes. Just again, sometimes I wish they had better, they build up the division better so that my black champ is gonna have better title runs, and we're not just happy that they gave a title to a black person and stuck it on them. We could just say, yay, like no, like I want like a title ring that I could look back on and be like, yo, do you remember that time when I don't know, when Bianca did this, that, and the fourth? That's my biggest frustration. But overall, the representation as well. I like the fact that they get sponsorships, that they're getting business deals. That has to be a huge plus. That has to be credited, but it's in progress is what I guess
Mm-hmm.
I could best say. What do you think?
I think that black wrestlers have come a long way from women and men. And I think before I get into my little spiel about that, I do want to put a little focal point on race and why race and diversity and equity and inclusion matters. Because I know that, the wrestling fan base is a majority white fan base. And so a lot of people aren't going to understand why race is important, right? And the reason why race is important is because when we look at race, race has been responsible, or the social construct of race has been responsible for the creation and reinforcement of narratives that have oppressed minorities, have oppressed people of color. And so, because of that reality, there has been a conditioning that has happened over the course of hundreds of years where we have uplifted one group of people and we have suppressed other groups of people in more ways than one. Whether we talk about individual cultures and hairstyles and forms of music and all these other things, race has been the driving force behind the creation and the reinforcement of narratives that have oppressed and suppressed people and thus have kept people out of the conversation that should be in the conversation, that have um, deem things ugly that are beautiful. You know what I mean? And because of that, it has, kind of left a very, very narrow field. And now that we're in this era where it's cool to be social, social justice minded and diversity minded and inclusion minded, it seems as if people want to like, no, but race doesn't matter. Well, it does, right? It does matter. It's mattered in so many systems, and it matters in so many systems and styles in the world, right? And just because now it seems like the tables are starting to turn doesn't mean that we should uh decenter this race conversation, because with the race conversation we have conditioned people to believe that whiteness is superior, that whiteness is standard, that whiteness is supreme. And because of that, you have deemed other things to be ugly, as stated earlier. So now we need to begin to condition the public that brown is beautiful, that black is beautiful. And it needs to be reinforced for the same amount of time that we have implied that blackness is ugly. So I do want to get that out the way first. And that's the reason why I believe that race is important. Um, as it pertains to the representation of black wrestlers on screen, I think that is something that has seen drastic improvement, because when I talk about diversity and inclusion and equity, I'm talking about people feeling seen and people being seen. And over the past 10 to 15 years, we've seen major progression because we've seen every type or almost every type of person of color on screen, whether they be plus size, whether they be, things that are a little bit more conservative in their presentation, as it pertains to for example, the hurt business, or things that are a little bit more playful in presentation, like the New Day, right? And then you have Street Profits, you have Hit Row, you have all these different versions and variations of how blackness can be presented on screen. And just the fact that essentially the women's John Cena is Bianca Belair at this point, I think tells you a lot about how WWE has progressed and the world of wrestling has progressed so that we see a lot of people that look and sound like us on screen. Now, I do believe that there are ways to go because I do believe that even though we've made all this progress, and like you said, you had Jade Cargill, you have Mercedes Monet, and if you think about it, you have a black woman as a champion, and in every company, which I don't think that we've ever seen before, and I think that that shows an amazing amount of progress. I think that one of the reasons is because we, as people of color, are making our voices heard as fans, but also because there are wrestlers who are taking control of controlling their narrative, and
Yeah.
yeah, they're controlling their narrative, all right, and they are making their voices heard, and they are saying, this is how I want to be represented, this is true to me. And I think that the wrestlers deserve credit, I think that the fans deserve credit. I think from a business aspect, I don't think that it's a secret now that the black dollar is one of the most powerful things in the world, and any company who is a for-profit company is going to want to tap into an audience that's going to make them more money. So I think that that's one of the reasons why wrestling companies are a little bit more inclined to put black wrestlers on screen, because they understand that there are some heavy financial dividends that can come as a result of that. However,
Mhm.
I think that while there's been um, a drastic improvement in the presentation of black pro wrestlers, I don't think that it's the same for behind the scenes. And I don't know why. I don't know of any black wrestling writers. I don't know if there's anybody who is black who is in gorilla position. I don't know anybody who's black who's running camera. And I feel like that needs to change. I feel like representation is a holistic job, and you can't just put people on screen without having people behind the scenes, because now you're putting things on screen and you don't have anyone behind the scenes that can give what's on the screen context. And I believe that black writers, black producers, black directors are just as important as black wrestlers, because they can now create an ecosystem where people like them feel comfortable and people like them feel supported, and they feel as if they can tell their stories the best way they know how to. Because I still feel like we're seeing more stories and we're seeing deeper stories. However, I don't think that we're seeing the stories that can come because of the talent that we have, because there aren't writers who can write stories based on the cultural context behind a lot of these black wrestlers. So I think that we have a ways to go, not necessarily with the black wrestlers, but we need black producers, black writers, black camera operators, black directors. Diversity is a holistic job. It shouldn't just be performative. And if you don't want to make it performative, you need to stack your talent from what's in front of the camera to what's behind it. And that's just my honest take on it. But we want to know what y'all are feeling about this particular issue, about the state of black wrestlers, of people of color in wrestling. Leave us a comment and let us know how you feel. But we're moving on. So this past week, it was announced that Soonya Deville was arrested. She was arrested because she was found with a gun in the car. She has a gun permit or gun license in Florida, However, I don't think that she was licensed in New Jersey, or she wasn't allowed to have the gun in New Jersey. She kept the gun on her due to the home invasion that she experienced with her and Mandy a couple of years back. And it's just a really, really unfortunate situation. But I wanted to know your take on the situation. I wanted to know how you felt about Sonya Deville being arrested and all of these things ensuing and happening.
I feel really bad for her because I mean that's just a traumatic situation that she went through. I mean, she had that occurrence happen at the worst part of her career when she and Mandy were basically supposed to have their moment, and it was just ruined by something so traumatizing and disgusting as a fan breaking into your house and having you based in a position where you don't know if you're going to see the next day. So I don't blame her for walking around strapped, bro. Like, she probably wasn't thinking that far ahead that she might be placed in a predicament where her gun might be exposed and she may get arrested for it. But I don't blame her for carrying it around because I would be scared too. Because me as a female, I feel nervous when I gotta walk past a group of guys just regular. I get nervous every time I step out my car to go pump gas for the gas station, or if I have to make that walk to go inside to go pay for inside. Like little stuff like that gets me anxiety. So I can only imagine what it's like when you had someone trespass, break into your house, and have you held hostage. You know what I mean? So I feel terribly sorry for her. I feel for her, and I don't think that she should ever even stop caring at all, even despite this. I mean, maybe she could work something out, but maybe she could hold something else besides a gun so that she could feel protected. I feel like every woman should be carrying something so they could feel protected. But man, I really hope WWE doesn't do nothing to her in regards to this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is anything that's punishment worthy. Just considering the circumstances, it's not like she's holding a gun just because she wants to hold a gun. I mean, there's very very clear you know um, uh, context here.
Mm.
And she's also even more of a target too because I mean, as we know, she's gay, and not everyone's fond of that. We still don't even know why that weirdo broke into her house. It could have been
Right.
because it was out of a hate crime or because it's out of pure obsession. You know what I mean? And when you're in like that minority group, I feel like you have to be on high alert. You have to be because not yes, while we're in a progressive world and a progressive universe where everyone's trying to accept everything, still not everyone is going to accept everything. And you might go into a different state where guns are legal and that's not common still in that state or that town in
Mm-hmm.
particular to come across a gay individuals and now they have her at knife point or gunpoint. She has nothing to defend herself. So I just feel terribly sorry for her. I feel like it's just a never ending cycle with trying to just be and exist as a woman and be comfortable in your skin and representing who you are. Because she's in a position where the company that she's in does kind of put that out there. And she wants that information out there. She does because
Right.
she loves who she is. You know what I mean? But it does come out of a cost where people know you and people are going to approach you and you don't know
Mm-hmm.
what are their intentions, which is
Yeah.
why again she is rightfully strapped. That's just my take on it. She didn't do nothing wrong, but I understand that the law is the law. Hopefully she could figure out something around it. But what do you think about it, Jordan?
I 100% agree with you on everything that you just said. And I think that the key thing that you mentioned, the key detail is violence against queer people. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit because I didn't even think about that. But when we look at hate crimes in America, queer people are systematically targeted. Queer people are systematically attacked. And people are going after them for all different types of reasons. I think it's just because their confidence and their ability to walk in who they are triggers those who are too afraid to walk in who they are. Um, and when you look at the incident that happened with the home invasion, um, I definitely see why she would be strapped because she wants to defend herself. She wants to defend her household. And on top of that, when things like that happen, home invasions happen, it's especially when it comes to somebody like a queer person, and especially in a state like Florida, 9 times out of 10, there aren't good intentions. And 9 times out of 10, it is a very, very much a targeted attack. Um, and now we fast forward into 2023. Not only is she queer, she's engaged. Congratulations to her. But when you are engaged and you want to start a family, it's like, okay, now I have to protect my family. I have to protect my woman. If I have a child, I have to protect my child. And so there's very much a just reason for her to carry a strap on her. And I feel like WWE should not punish her. It does suck from a professional context because she was just getting into this feud with Charlotte and it was going somewhere, and you saw that star being made in the process, and then this happens. But I don't think that she should be punished at all. Obviously, like from a legal perspective, like dog, if you in a state where you ain't licensed and you got it on you, it sucks. I mean, you want to protect yourself, and you should want to protect yourself because of who you are, and because you're queer women and queer people are attacked. They experience violence unlike any other group besides, black people. But there are black queer people, so then there's that. But you know, queer people are attacked and they're targeted, and that is a reason for her carrying a gun. But at the same time, it's like if you're not licensed, bro, like that's something that you have to consider. And I hope that she comes out of this with no scratches. I hope that she's free because I don't think she should be in jail. I don't think that it's fair. I don't think that she should be in prison. She should not be in prison for an offense like this, considering everything that she's had to deal with and go through over the past couple of years. But that's just like my little honest take on it. But on
I
a
wish there was like an endorsement on your license that like let's just say you were like a victim of like whatever type of abuse, like there was like just a list of reasonings. I feel like
mm-hmm,
if you were like a victim of like maybe like a home invasion or something like that, something and then also you're in the public eye because she is
right,
a celebrity. I wish there was like an endorsement of some sort that you could just show the cops and it's just like, no, like I dead ass need this shit. Like this is
right,
not just me trying to walk around, have a gun for fun. It's just like, no, like I'm a public figure. I am a huge target. Like I don't have security around me all the time. This makes me feel safe, sir. Like I don't know how laws work like that. If anyone knows, please comment that, and educate me because I would love to know.
mm-hmm,
But I just wish that there was something that she could have just to make her feel comfortable, considering like it's very publicly wide known circumstances that she went through.
right, right. And but I 100% agree with that. I think that there should be endorsements. But I do want to send like my love to Sonya, and I hope that she makes it through. I don't know if she's gonna see this. I don't know if she's gonna see us, but girl, we're rooting for you. We hope that you pull through, and we just hope that all becomes well. But we are moving on. So, uh, in addition to the Sonya Deville news, that's not the only WWE news that's come out. Apparently, not apparently, but Brock Lesnar and Omos was announced for WrestleMania, and then rumors and reports began to speculate that Vince McMahon had a say in the creation of this match. So I wanted to know, do you believe that Vince had a say in this match? Um,
The
or
match
do you
was
Brock Lesnar versus Omos? Do you think that he
oh,
had a say in this match? Do you think that he was the one that publicly pushed for it? Or is it someone else? Is it these are all rumors, by the way. I want to put that out there. These are all rumors. Nothing has been confirmed, but it is rumored that Vince was the one that had a say in this match being made.
that's such a Vinceism, though. Just we all know how he gets all hard on for big sweaty men. You know what I mean? And I mean, I'm personally not impressed by Omas at all. Like he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
do anything for me. Um, there's nothing that I feel like he's done since he came on screen with AJ Styles that made me say whoa outside of his size. Um, he's not very impressive in the ring. He's not a good talker. He's not a good promo. He doesn't give me any form of championship material. He's just there because he's big. If he was any smaller, I don't think he would have a job, let
Mm.
alone be booked next to Brock Lesnar. Like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Braun Strowman. But even then, as much as I dislike Braun, I think he's a crappy wrestler. At least Braun could kind of cut a promo when he needs to and kind of like follow along in wrestling, and put on in not really a great match, but something, This just feels like very much a Vinceism. He likes big guys, and I think he still thinks that the fans have this old school way of thinking that Brock is a big guy, so next time we see another big guy, let's just attach him to Brock, you know. And it's not really like that anymore. I feel like we all as fans, especially with the new generation of fans, have grown out of this obsession of like all wrestlers need to be these big giant men like the Undertaker and Kane and stuff like that. Like we're kind of cool at watching Brock work with anyone because Brock has proved that he could work with anyone. It's actually more fun to me to watch him wrestle with small guys because he be slinging them across across the
Hmm.
ring. You know what I mean? Back and
Yeah.
forth, back and forth. It actually makes the F5s look more impressive because he could like get some air in it. So yeah, I kind of think that is a Vinceism, and I'm not looking forward to seeing it if it is a match. I don't think anyone wants to see that. What do you think?
I yeah, yeah. I do think so. Also, I wanted to say because you brought it up, and I just wanted to say in the words of Big E, big meaty men slapping meat. But that we all know Vince has a thing for big guys in wrestling. We all know that he has a thing for seeing muscular, larger men compete because traditionally that was the spectacle. And I think that that's what gives this context, right? I think that if you don't make that known, right? People are just going to assume, oh, he just has an obsession. No, traditionally, a lot of the biggest fights in wrestling, specifically in the 80s, even a little bit in the 90s and the 2000s, involved muscular men because those muscular men were seen as spectacles. Muscular men and tall men. We can go with Terry Bollea. I'm not calling him by his wrestling name. Terry Bollea. We could talk about Andre the Giant. We could talk about Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior. We can even talk about Rock and Stone Cold in a way. We could talk about Triple H. We could talk about The Undertaker. We could talk about Kane. We could talk about The Big Show. We could talk about. There are names of a lot of big guys that have made money for Vince McMahon. And because of that, I think that he is very much attracted to the spectacle that is big men in wrestling matches. Now, the reason why I think this is such a Vince thing is because this came out of nowhere. Brock and Omos have not crossed paths. And obviously, you can create a story, you can create a narrative based on just the fact that, there hasn't really been anything kind of slated or announced for WrestleMania for Brock Lesnar. So, like, you know, that kind of opportunity is just like wide open. So, I guess you could do something with that. But it just came out of nowhere. It was so random. And I don't want to say that I hate it because Omos has been shown to give very, very impressive matches. Like, I don't think that I've seen a bad Omos match. We can't sit up here and say Omos has been unsafe. We can't sit up here and say Omos has been, bad or whatever. He's paired with MVP, so he has somebody in his corner who's
But
good on
how
the
many
mic.
good matches? 'Cause I can't
I
name
don't think.
one.
Yeah, same. But I'm not saying that I'm not saying that he's a Seth Rollins. I'm just saying he's not a Ronda Rousey. You know what I mean? So the ground is pretty neutral there in that sense. Nobody's been injured because of Brock Lesnar. I mean, not Brock Lesnar, because of Omos. Nobody has like had any negative things to say about him in like backstage heat or something like that. So I'm pretty neutral on it. And I want to see where this goes. But I definitely think that this is a sign that Vince McMahon has more control than we think he does. And I think that you alluded to it weeks ago that you don't trust that man, and that
Wow.
you and that he's gonna make his way to have control over certain things. And yeah, that's just like my little take on it. But I want to know what y'all feel about Omos and Brock Lesnar. Is Vince McMahon back in the creative saddle, or is this just a one match, one time thing? But we're going to move the heck on. So, in addition to that, and speaking of WWE, it apparently is official, all right, that King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring will take place on May 27th in Saudi Arabia. I wanted to know your thoughts and impressions on this. The fact that we're getting the return of I think it was also possibly labeled the Queen's Crown. So, how do you feel that the Queen's Crown and King of the Ring are returning officially as a pay per view and in Saudi Arabia?
I always like the King of the Ring pay per view and now Queen of the Ring. Well, maybe I don't know if I like how they booked the queens because they kind of botched that opportunity, in my opinion. But
Mm-hmm.
I like it because again, it's another opportunity to build new stars, and it puts in another exciting pay per view. You know, because you have the big ones, you have SummerSlam, WrestleMania, you have Royal Rumble, and I don't think Survivor Series has delivered in quite some time. So I think it'd be interesting to have, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
King of the Ring, because it's something where it's just like a total surprise. You don't know who's going to get that opportunity. But the thing is that and then that's what I love about tournaments. Tournaments are like a great way to get people who've been sitting in catering, not really getting much TV time because you don't know what to
Mm-hmm.
do with them. It's
Right.
very nice to just like throw them into the ring because it's not too much promo going on for something like that. It kind of writes itself. You guys are all fighting for the same thing. It's just a matter of who's a heel and who's a babyface going into this tournament. So it
Mm-hmm.
makes fans kind of look at them from a different perspective and try to fall in love with like their wrestling ability, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
how the Mae Young Classic worked. We didn't really know these faces too well, but we got a little brief on them, and we just knew they were all fighting for the same thing. So you just
Mm-hmm.
fell in love with like whatever personality you saw in the ring. I love that very much about the King and Queen of the Ring. I just don't like too much their execution on what they do with the people after they win it. Because,
Mm-hmm.
for example, with Zelina, I loved her presentation, but what has she really accomplished in between? I mean, I know she won the tag team title belts at some point, but it felt to me very forgettable. And I love me Selena Vega, you know what I mean, especially because she represents New York. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Queens.
when it came to her, she word. But I just feel like it if you don't utilize the talents properly when they win it, it devalues the tournament. And that tournament used to be very prestigious. Prestigious, sorry. It built up a lot of stars in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my biggest thing. I'm not opposed to them bringing it back, but please like make great use of it and actually turn those people into stars by the end of it. Make it so
Mm-hmm.
that like they're not just walking around with a shawl and a staff and the crown just because. Do something with it for the love of God, you
Right.
know. So that's my one thing. And then you commented about it being in Saudi Arabia. Um, I'm not opposed to it. I think that's actually a nice spot to choose. I know a lot of people are so opposed to them working with the Saudi people, but I think that if there's one crowd that's going to appreciate a King of the Ring, I feel like it would be that demographic.
Yeah.
So I think that the location is actually kind of perfect. And it would add something a little spicy to a Saudi show. Because they usually have the same typical formula where they kind of they rely more so on old timers and just random money making matches to just get ratings going. I feel like that's a really good thing to do because when it comes to Saudi with the Saudi audience, I feel as though they watch wrestling with a different set of eyes than in America. In America, we're all like fucking marks. But I feel like over there, I'm not saying that their standards are lower because it's not the case. It's just that it takes less to it takes less for them to have a good time because they kind of watch wrestling in a very black and white view.
Mm.
That's the face. We're gonna cheer for that face. We like that guy. We don't like that guy. That's the heel. We're gonna boo that guy. They just have a good time. So they're gonna be an easy crowd. So I feel like please with the King of the Ring and Queen of the
Very
Ring.
true.
Does that make any sense?
It makes
Like
100%
they're
sense.
not gonna like think about it. Yeah, like, I feel like when if it were to be in the states, we're just gonna sit there and judge the fuck out of it, and then we're gonna like pre-predict by the end of it. Oh yeah, it's gonna go towards that person. Whereas over there, they're not really thinking about all that much. They're just there for a good time to watch a show and be in the moment. Like they're
Mm.
marks in their own way, but they're like not as intense as we are. So I think that's like such like that's actually like the smartest location to choose. But what do you think about either or?
To build on top of what you were saying, they're an easier audience to please because they don't get WWE events like that. You know what I mean? Like, we have it
Yeah.
so good in the States in the sense that, hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah, we have it so good in the States in the sense that, like, WWE is on the road 300 days a year. 80% of the time, they're in the States. They're East Coast, South, Midwest, West Coast. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like that for the majority of the year. But when we talk about international events, this is an audience that doesn't get access to WWE the way that the audience in the States does. You know what I'm saying? And because of that, they're going to be easier to impress because they're just grateful that WWE is doing an event of any magnitude in Saudi Arabia. Now, what basically based on what you were saying as far as like um the location, it does make sense. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring. I think that it's something different. It's
Yeah.
fresh. It's something new. Definitely a play on words, and it's clever. Um, Now, as it pertains to the significance of the weight, I agree. Right, this whole like not liking what happens after the tournament, like you put a sash or a crown on somebody, and then that's their gimmick and that's their thing. But the gimmick shouldn't be the payoff, right? Like you said with Zelina, like yes, she won the tag titles, but it did still didn't feel like it had a lot of weight. I still think that they should do what they used to do with King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring, and that is that whoever wins the tournament gets a shot at their title at the world title at SummerSlam. That's how Brock Lesnar went about it. I think that's how it was going down. Like prior to 2002, you win that tournament, you're going to get a world title shot, and I think that that gives a significant amount of weight to that tournament. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's just like the only big thing. And I think I've said that before with King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring. You just have to incentivize these tournaments, or else people aren't going to be interested. Um, Now I'm going to throw a wrench
Yeah, I
into.
totally agree.
I'm going to throw a wrench into this.
Ooh,
This year, who do you want to be
Jesus.
King of the Ring and who do you want to be Queen of the Ring?
That's so hard because, like, I don't really have favorites that are on the main roster at the moment like that. I mean, Montez would be great. I would never say no to Montez,
Hmm.
you know? Because if you put Montez, it's not going to sacrifice the group. Like, you can still do something. You can still put them together. You can make them even more annoying in a fun way because he's walking around with a king robe and a staff. Like,
Right.
I feel like he would make the most out of that gimmick and make it just fun. Like, you don't have to be a condescending, heel like the way Booker T was. You could have fun with it. Like, you really could make the King of the Ring gimmick whatever you want it to be. And I could see him, you know how he walks around with the cup? He'll
Mm-hmm.
have what do you call those fancy cups that kings walk around with?
The
Like
chalice.
he could be
The
holding
chalice.
he could be walking around with that bedazzled. You know how Bianca does the bedazzling
Mm-hmm.
for the cups that they hold? He
Mm-hmm.
could be having a bedazzled show. I'd be with it. I'd be so with it.
That actually sounds tough.
And
I
when
didn't even think of that.
right? Yeah, I just be coming up with things. And like also we haven't seen
Bucket.
someone that was like word, book it, Triple H. But yeah, um, and when's the last time you seen someone that won the King of the Ring that was in a tag team?
Mm.
Have we had that before?
I don't think we have.
You could do something.
And on top of that, that's a great way to turn Montez heel if that's the way that y'all want to go. It's a great way to have Montez and Angelo Dawkins in the final, and then have one turn on the other, or one win in a dirty way. That would be that would be tough. I agree. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. Actually, good on me. I just came up with that on the fly,
Good on
but
Ma.
now I'm
Good on
rolling
Ma,
with
y'all.
it. word. Um, as far as the females go, like I said, the females on the main roster don't move me as much as the females on the NXT roster. That's
Mm.
just me personally.
Ooh.
So I feel like if you want to make it fun, call up some names. Call up some names because, again, not everyone that watches Monday and Friday night watch Tuesday. And what better way to bring someone up besides the Royal Rumble, since you guys missed that opportunity, right? Than to introduce them into a tournament. Because when you go into a tournament, you kind of have little to no expectations unless there was a former champion in there.
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much go in there with little to no expectations. So that's, I feel like, a brilliant way to bring people up because they might fall in love with what's her name? Soul Roka. I know she just
Yeah,
started, so she's not going
she's
anywhere.
big down
But
there.
like
Yeah.
word, but you could bring her up. Or people like Roxanne, I know that she's holding the belt over there and she's doing what she's doing, but like, let's just say they wanted to, just because you can still technically bring that gimmick down there if you wanted to,
Mm.
but I doubt it. But if you were gonna call her up and call up people that already like kind of spent some time in NXT and like they could kind of like go now. Like I would like to see Lash Legend. I actually am a fan of Lash Legend. I think she's fun. I love her personality. A little reality gimmick is pretty like cool to me.
Yeah.
I would love to see people like Jakar called up. I would love to see geez, what was the name of that girl that I fell in love with during
Kiana James. Kiana
the
James.
yes, I would love to see her. She would eat that tournament up.
She would.
Like that's what I feel like they should do. They should just call up a couple of names, mix it with the main roster girls, and not make it so predictable. Because to be honest, if you throw in people like Liv Morgan, Natty, Carmella, and stuff like that, it's gonna be just an eyebrow roller. I mean, it'd be nice
Right.
to just see what they're made of. Because Natty's kind of that person that you go to when you want to have a good match. But I don't want to see too many of the main girls. I don't think they need it. I don't think it's going to elevate them or it's going to lower them. They just need to work with what they got. And since they didn't do too well with building up those women, since we got the champions that we have going now, I want to see like a new and interesting feud. So nothing would be more new and interesting than to call up an NXT star, have one of them win the Queen of the Ring, and then maybe set that up where down the line they can make a beeline towards one of the champions. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's been a minute since I've seen like a female feud, like championship feud on the main roster that I thought was new, refreshing, fun. Like that's like a money match to me.
Right.
So that's just what I personally think. But do you have any particular picks for the men and the women?
So I really like the ideas of Montez Ford being a King of the Ring. As far as the Queen of the Ring, I don't have anybody in particular in mind. I guess I'm not like super picky because to be honest, right now, I maybe it's just because of the whole Mercedes thing. I just haven't really found anyone outside of their champions to be interesting. I think the only exception is like Rhea, but like I'm pretty sure that Rhea is gonna like be champion by then. By the time that tournament rolls around, I think she's gonna be champion, and I don't think that they're gonna
She
give
don't
it
need
to
it.
so she don't need it, but I'm thinking because while I think somebody would from NXT would be a good surprise, yeah, I think somebody from NXT. I think that Roxanne should be the Queen of the Ring. I think that if I feel like when I look at like the women that I would probably have on the main roster that would probably win Queen of the Ring, I'm thinking like Bailey. I'm thinking like somebody else in Damage Control. But I feel like there's a bigger story there pertaining to them and potentially another faction or another group. And I feel like either one of them being Queen of the Ring would kind of deter them away from that story. And I feel like Roxanne would just be a pleasant surprise. You know what I mean? And so I would be for that. I think a good surprise is in for the Queen of the Ring. So I want to go for Roxanne. But I want to know how y'all guys feel about Queen of the Ring, King of the Ring, in Saudi Arabia, May 27th. But we're gonna move on to our AEW Revolution predictions. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. So we
Yeah.
got some predictions coming for AEW Revolution. Be mindful, it's this Sunday. We're doing a space, 316 space. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. I'll be sure to drop the link somewhere in the description. But we are going to go from the bottom of the card to the top because this looks like a very, very stacked card. So first match, we got Ricky Starks versus Chris Jericho with the Jericho Appreciation Society banned from ringside. Who do you have?
I'm always be Team Ricky, like
Mm.
regardless. I mean, Chris Jericho's in a position to where he can never do any wrong, but like I feel like it would be wrong in this situation to have Ricky lose. They've been
Mm-hmm.
building him up like all year, bro,
Oh yeah.
and he already like didn't win that feud with MJF. So I just feel like if you want to keep this momentum going, he needs to like beat a veteran and just beat him clean. Not like Chris Jericho lose anything at this point. Like they're banned from ringside, but I'm pretty sure they're going to like have someone come in camouflaged or whatever with a mask on, and probably like set it up into a way where Chris Jericho doesn't look weak regardless. He just looks like a chicken shit heel.
Mm.
So yeah, Team Ricky. What about you?
I'm gonna go with Ricky Starks as well. I think that, I mean, he already beat Jericho, and it's interesting because this whole dynamic of this feud has shifted from, you know, like in a sense, like Chris Jericho needs a win over Ricky, but Ricky is the one that's asking for the match. And I think that that's just such a interesting dynamic to have, because usually it's the other way around. Usually the heel, when he gets beat, he's hurt. He chases down the babyface to demand the match, but it's like Chris Jericho is too prideful to ask for the match, but he still wants the match. But he also doesn't want to lose. And I think that that dynamic is really, really cool. But Ricky Starks is a bona fide superstar. And I think that even his match with MJF kind of reinforced that. And I think that this is going to be a star making performance once again. But I think that Ricky Starks is going to come out on top. Um, I also believe that there's going to be some type of Daniel Garcia, Sammy Guevara miscommunication that's going to lead to Chris Jericho losing, so that Chris Jericho doesn't look weak in a way. But we'll see. We'll see about that. But moving on, we have the AEW World Trios Championship match between the Elite and the House of Black. Who do you have?
For some reason, I want to go with the Elite.
Mm,
Normally, I don't ever choose the Elite. I kind of want to go with the Elite. I think they still won me over with that Babyface song that I keep
yeah.
singing every time they come out.
Yeah,
It worked. It fucking worked.
it
Because you
does.
know what? It
That
reminds
that
me of
song is
South
so
Park.
catchy. I love that damn song.
It is. It reminds me of the South Park Guitar Hero episode. That's why. And I'm a huge South Park fan.
It's
You
worse
know
because I know
the
what
song?
episode you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
I just imagine Randy with his freaking hairy body and his underwear playing at 2 a.m. and he's just fucking up all the notes. Like that song. That's why I love it. So I'm just gonna go with the Elite.
I'm gonna go with the House of Black. Whew, all right, let me gather myself. I'm gonna go with the House of Black. I think they have been reintroducing the House of Black to AEW, making them more lethal, making them more dangerous, giving them a mission and a goal by attaching themselves to the World Trios Championship picture. And I think that if they lose, it all goes in vain. Um, I don't believe that the Elite need to win this match. I think that um, they've already done so much based off of that best of seven series that they did with a Death Triangle, which and match seven, game seven, whatever you want to call it, in LA was phenomenal. As somebody who was there, and because of that, I don't think they really need to win this match. So I'm gonna go with House of Black. I think House of Black is gonna take it. Now, moving on to the AEW Women's World Championship match between Jamie Hayter, Saraya, and Ruby Soho. Who do you have?
Let me look at this one more time. Jamie Hayter versus Saraya. Okay, definitely not Saraya because she pisses me off every week. She just got into it with my mutuals that dragged her to filth. Um, she just every single week she just it's just funny because she's like a veteran and it's just like everyone asking her to come back for all these years and it's just week by week she just kind of just been falling lower and lower and lower on the totem pole and this is because she
Mm-hmm.
just won't stop talking.
Right.
But in terms of the match and the booking, uh, I wouldn't be mad if it went to Jamie or Ruby.
Mm,
I would love it for Ruby just because she needs something because she's quickly becoming irrelevant to me and I feel like this feud did nothing for anyone at
mm,
all. Like no one's really getting like a very good rub out of it.
mm,
But I'm expecting a good match nonetheless. I think that Jamie's probably going to retain just based off these two choices not being, you know, like I don't know. I feel like they're trying too hard with Soraya and it's not her time yet. And then I feel like with Ruby, she's just there just to have someone there.
Mm-hmm.
She's not really taken to be seriously. It would throw me off if she won. To be honest,
Mm.
I wouldn't mind it, but I don't think anyone here is ready to dethrone Jamie. That's just my take. What do you think?
I agree. I think Jamie Hayter's going to retain, even though I want Ruby to win something. I firmly believe that like Jamie is red hot. Jamie is white hot right now, and I believe that she's going to win. I also believe she's going to pin Saraya. Because I think that that's going to just do like because it's a triple threat. It's easy for things to get lost in the smoke, right? Oh, you won, but you didn't pin me. And it's like, all right, well, if Jamie pins Saraya, it's kind of like that's the biggest one in the match who's the non-champion. Also, it gives a little bit of room for a potential Jamie Ruby match down the line because Ruby didn't get pinned. And I feel like that's what it can possibly lead to. But I think Jamie Hayter is going to retain, and she's white hot.
I have
She's
a
the
question.
what's up?
Because you bring up that logic a lot when it comes to triple threats, but like, when's the last time they actually like worked with that? Like that whole
Mm,
that third person never got pinned, so I have a chance.
when was the when was the last multi-man match that we did a prediction for?
I'm trying to think.
Because I feel like you know what it
I'm
is.
trying to think.
It's like the common like for as long as I've watched wrestling, WWE, whatever. That's always been the thing. It's like you didn't pin me, so like we need this one on type of situation. It's always like it's a tale as old as time, like when it comes to these multi-person matches, unless it's like a multi-person elimination match where you have to like pin somebody and then you move on to the next thing. It's like a very, very constant pattern.
I know it's common in the past, just that I don't see it like nowadays. I feel like they always throw in the third person just to have a third person,
Very
and no
true.
one like brings that back. So like I understand like you're going with the old school logic, is that like do they like when's the last time they actually done it? I guess is what I'm saying because you know I haven't seen it
That makes
at
sense.
least
I don't
recently.
know. I don't know the last time that they've done it, but I don't know just because of habit, but I've always just kind of leaned
They
on
should bring
that.
it back though because I love that logic.
Right. It
What?
actually
Sorry.
worked. Like it actually worked, but Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, that's when it happened the last time. Samoa Joe, Warlow, Powerhouse Hobbs for the TMT Championship. Because remember,
There you go.
I don't think Powerhouse got pinned. It was Warlow that got pinned. And Powerhouse was
Mm-hmm.
like, we have unfinished business. And he just won the
Mm-hmm.
Face of the Revolution ladder match. So my logic worked. I win.
You got it, bro. You got it. That's funny.
moving moving
That's
on to
really
the
funny.
next match. Um, we got the Texas Death Match between Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page. I'm actually very, very much looking forward to this match. I feel like this is going to be so bloody and so gruesome. One of John's organs is going to come out of his body at this point. But I want to know, who do you have in this match?
John is always bleeding.
John is
like,
always bleeding.
like I'm just I don't even know. I'll be honest, I've always been a bigger Moxley fan than a Hangman fan. Not that I don't
Mm-hmm.
like Hangman, I do appreciate all his work. But I mean, I'm a sucker for Moxley, man. Even if he does have to bleed to have these matches that he be having, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be reckless. I mean, that's what I love most about him. He's just reckless.
Yeah.
Like he's such a manly man. Like he just comes off like he's just about that life off camera and on camera, and that's what I love about him. It kind of gives me like a Stone Cold vibe. But like you just know he's that guy off camera. You just know he lives his life. So yeah, totally. I'm gonna go with Mox. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with Moxley as well. Actually, no, 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 no. I'm gonna go with Hangman Adam Page.
Why?
Because this would be a way for him to get a win. I feel like The reason why this match is happening is because their last match, which I believe was in Dayton, it was either in Dayton or it was in LA. And it was like a very, very cheap win by Moxley. But like Moxley has 2 wins over Hangman, Hangman has 1 win over Mox, right? So Hangman has, I think Moxley has like 2 pinfalls or a pinfall and a submission type of situation. Or actually, no, this is the tiebreaker because remember that when they had a match for the title, Moxley knocked Hangman out. So I forgot about that.
Mm.
So this is like the tiebreaker. I feel like the only way that you can beat Moxley and Moxley still be strong is if you didn't pin him. So the Texas Death Match is essentially a last man standing match. So it's like you leave John Moxley laying down for a count of 10. You figure that's the way that he's going to lose is just him laying in a pool of his own blood and decapacitated to the point where he just can't get up. That just sounds like a Moxley way to lose, but it's like you're not going to consider Moxley weak. You're just going to be like, well, that's John Moxley. And on top of that, it's a good premise and a
He's
good
bad.
foundation. Huh?
Yeah. No, it's just like he died. Like
Yeah,
this man
like
literally
that.
went out dying. You know.
But
Yeah.
but like Moxley, like, and we're already seeing a shift in his character change, way more heelish. The Blackpool Combat Club is
Yeah.
becoming way more heelish. So I feel like
Yeah.
Heyman's gonna win this one. But we're moving
That's fair.
on to the AEW Tag Team Championship match. Talk about a multi-person match. We got the Guns versus the Acclaimed versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal versus Danhausen and Orange Cassidy. Who do you have?
It better not be Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. It's gonna piss me off. That's so gonna piss me off. I feel like they've been trying really hard to push the Guns for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason. I don't particularly care for them at all. Um, I would love to see the Acclaim just because I love the Acclaim and I feel like they should never have like lost their belts at all. Like
Right.
they're so entertaining. Like there's nothing wrong with this situation. They should just have kept it going until, in my personal opinion, they brought up another tag team that was worthy enough. Um, but I also can't be mad at Orange Cassidy and Dan Austin just because like there's such a weird mixture that goes so well.
Yes.
It's like peanut butter and jelly with them. So to be honest, if it's not the Acclaim, then I'm fine with Dan Austin and Orange Cassidy. But Orange Cassidy has been in a lot of like one v one feuds, so
Yeah.
I doubt they're going to give it to them just
Yeah.
because they keep putting. I feel like they that Tony like loves Orange Cassidy so much that he just likes to see him in one v one feuds. But I like the dynamic with him being with Dan Hosson because his gimmick has been like tiring me. You know, I feel like we all got bored of it after year 1.5
Orange
with the
Cassidy?
whole him doing slop stuff. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like his gimmick is just it's stale, but like he's such a good wrestler that we're annoyed until we see him actually wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he could benefit from having like a title run with Dan Hosson because then he has more depth to his character that he could probably play around with than just being this chill back guy that turns it on when he wants to turn it on. Because it's just like, what else do you have here with your character? There was one time they made him smart.
I remember that.
I won't forget that time with Jericho.
During the debate?
They pulled like a Maria Kanellis moment. Yeah. Like remember when Maria
that.
Kanellis was like was
Mad intellectual out of
in
nowhere.
court?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Eric Bischoff court. Yeah.
Yeah, they did that same concept with Orange Cassidy with Chris Jericho, and it was like the greatest thing. Or was it MJF? Was it MJF or Chris Jericho? Which
Chris
one
Jericho.
was it?
Chris Jericho.
It was great.
It was
such
Jericho.
good
I remember
shit.
it was Jericho.
But
Yeah.
yeah, he thought he had it in the bag because Orange Cassidy's just fucking lazy. I would love that. Honestly, I would love if they just put more energy into him because he's actually like really good. It's just that like he's not like there's not much you could do with that character. There's like a glass ceiling with it. So I kind of want it now. The more I keep talking, Dan Housen and Orange Cassidy.
I don't think that they would do that just because it would steer away from the fact that Orange Cassidy is the All Atlantic champion. And I think that they want to keep his feuds going as All Atlantic champion because he's been having good matches and good stories and good feuds. But I do think that they're going to put up a heck of a fight. One of the things that I think is very, very interesting in this is Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn is someone who has ties to almost everybody in this match. Obviously, the Guns being his sons, the Acclaim being his adopted
Yeah.
sons. Him and Jeff Jarrett have a lot of history. I think Billy
Mhm.
Gunn was at a point was like his valet back in WWE. Um, so he has ties with like a lot of factions in this scenario, which I think is really really cool. I think the Guns are going to retain. I think that yes, it's a multi-man match, so there is a great way of you being able to like a great risk of you losing your titles, but I feel like there's so much chaos that it's easy to take advantage of it. So, off of that logic, I think that the Guns are going to retain, and maybe I think we can see a Billy Gunn heel turn. I think that would be very, very interesting. Um,
Ooh, I like
but
it.
moving on to the next match, the AEW World Championship Iron Man match between MJF and Bryan Danielson. Who do you have?
My heart wants to say Daniel Bryan because I'm tired of waiting for his time. But then part of me is just like, well, Daniel Bryan, I feel like is at a point where he just likes to give because that's just what this humble vegan is, a giver. You know what I mean? And I feel like he's almost fine with being the person that just makes everyone else look better because it's just understood that Daniel Bryan is and will forever be that guy. Like we just
Mm-hmm.
respect him. Like no matter he could really do no wrong on and off camera. He is like a father figure to this business.
Absolutely.
But I just feel like that championship would be so much more valuable on Daniel. And I feel like this feud was like so white hot and juicy. I feel like MJF is more interesting when he's chasing than when he
Mm-hmm.
has the belt. And it'd be interesting if Daniel Bryan won. I'm not sure if it would I would say via submission because I don't think like having a champion be dethroned through submission makes them look good. I feel like it does make them look weak. But if we could find another way where he wins and it just drives MJF crazy and he thinks that it was a fluke and he could just chase after Daniel, we could have this feud keep going. I would love that. I think they're doing such good shit.
Mm-hmm.
Such good shit. What I love about Daniel Bryan the most is that he doesn't really have to swear very much to drag you to film. Like he did, he goes
That's
for
a
the
fact.
jugular in the most polite, cleanest, and sincere
In the
way.
most fatherly
So
way.
yes, yes, like I said, he's such a father figure to this business, and I love it. So I just feel like it would be, for in my personal opinion, if you want to create more character development and make this title run more interesting, yeah, like give it to Daniel and let this keep going into what's the next pay per view after this? Is it Double or Nothing?
I'm not sure.
No.
I think it is. I think it is because I think that's in May. So I think it is.
Yeah,
So
unless they do something with the cruise ship. I don't know how any of that goes, y'all.
right.
But I feel like that'd be dope if they just kept it going because these two are great mouthpieces for each other. You have like such a loving baby face that is Daniel Bryan, who is so loving is that in that it automatically makes MJF the heel because no one's gonna boo Daniel ever. No
Mm-hmm.
matter how much
Ever.
we like and appreciate MJF, no one's going to boo him, which makes him look more of a more convincing heel. But like I said, he's just more interesting when he's chasing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just feel like at the same time too, while I understand Daniel loves putting other people over, if he just keeps doing that, it just makes him just look. I don't know. I'm not saying it's gonna lower his value because his value will never be lowered. But it's just like you don't want to look at Daniel Bryan and always expect that he's going to lose. And I feel like that's what a lot of people looking down at this card are thinking. It's like, oh yeah, like Daniel's always losing. You know,
Right.
he's always putting someone else over. So he's always helping out. So give it to Daniel and have MJF chase his belt back if he wants it. But I feel like it's still Daniel's time. I say this every time, but this is Daniel's time. What do you think?
I think the ending is gonna piss off a lot of people. I think they're gonna end in a draw. Because here's my
Why?
logic. I feel like anytime MJF is in a match as a heel, his objective is how can I draw the most heat? And I feel like
I didn't think about that.
what would draw the most heat is a draw because neither one of them really beat each other more than the other person beat them. But because it's a
True.
champion's advantage, It's like MJF just wants to remember his whole spiel is this championship means the world to me. I'll do anything to keep it. So even if it means they're tied up at 2-2 and it's a minute left and he runs around the ring so that he can retain his belt, he's going to do that because he doesn't want to get in the ring with the best professional wrestler in the world and risk getting pinned or submitted when if he just stays at 2-2 or 1-1 or 3-3, he's going to walk out with that belt either way. And I think that him not going for the extra pinfall, him not going for the extra submission also implicitly communicates, hey, yo, I'm not trying to give y'all the best match. I'm just trying to walk out of here with my belt, bro. And I think that
Yeah.
that's going to be the thing that makes the most sense. And I think that the match is going to end in a draw and that MGF is going to be walking out as champion.
That is kind of brilliant. I like that booking.
I be thinking.
Because it's still like a no harm, no foul. Now,
Right.
he's always thinking, yo. He like, when I be thinking, like, I'm a step ahead of Jordan, he be like 5 steps ahead of me. Like,
I'll be over
this
here.
shit almost getting me mad sometimes.
I be miles ahead.
Word. He's down the hallway, made a left. I'm still back here at the elevator.
I'm back at the couch with my girl. But that concludes our show for today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you guys at AEW Revolution, our 316 space. It's going to be so much fun. Bring all of the things. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week.